Hey folks, before we begin today's episode, I wanted to let you know I'm open to new opportunities this summer and fall of 2024. If you're looking for someone who has an expertise in Swift, whether it's iOS, watchOS, TV, Vision, macOS, or server-side Swift, reach out to me. You can find me at brightdigit.com and you can reach out to me there, or you can just email me, leo@brightdigit.com. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Empower Apps. I'm your host, Leo Dion. Today, I am joined by Danielle Lewis. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Before we begin, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, yeah, I'm Danielle. I just started learning Swift about a year ago. So I'm a native iOS developer, currently doing my first internship. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
How did you get into software development?
Yeah, actually, it's something I had been interested in for a while, but very intimidated by. To be honest, there just weren't a lot of people that I saw who looked like me who were successful at this growing up. But a family friend actually reached out and encouraged me to start learning. So I did. And then after WWDC last year, I fell in love with the idea of the Vision Pro and decided I wanted to start learning Swift.
Awesome. So now, have you been mostly doing Vision Pro stuff or anything else in Swift?
Yeah, mostly iOS, honestly.
Okay.
I'm currently trying to get more into ARKit and RealityKit. So I'm doing some courses right now trying to learn those frameworks to be able to use more of the hardware of Vision Pro and
Okay.
give people more 3D experiences.
So tell me a little bit about what were some of the hurdles getting into iOS development and what did you learn on the way, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard. Like coding is hard, coming from not having any experience. But honestly, the community has been so incredible to me. I made a Twitter early on. I was doing Paul Hudson and Sean Allen courses, and both of them very much stress, get on Twitter. The dev community is amazing. Make sure that you share what you're doing. So I took that advice, and any hurdle that I had, any obstacle or roadblock that I faced, I just asked questions. I asked for help, and people came to help me. So that was incredible. And probably the best thing that I learned was leveraging the community and building that network.
So I want to talk a bit about your experience with visionOS. Did you start with iOS and then go into visionOS?
Yeah. I started with iOS. I started with 100 Days of Swift UI
Okay.
on hackingwithswift.com. And shortly after, about 6 months later, decided that I wanted to, try to make a Vision Pro app. This was a little bit before release, and I actually made four very simple single window utility apps for Vision OS and got
Okay.
those on the store before release day. So that was cool.
Okay. So what were the obvious big differences developing for visionOS versus iOS?
Yeah, it was mostly just how people interact with the applications and
Okay.
design. So making sure that, the way that people move through your application was intuitive for the platform. That was the
Okay.
biggest difference. Swift UI makes it so easy to go from one to the other. Everything is pretty much the same. A text box is still a text box. A button is still a button. So everything was very much built in to where if you had a tab view in an iOS app, you could have that same tab view and it would automatically be different based on the platform that you were building it on. So I thought that was great and cool.
What were some cool things that you could do in visionOS development that you can't
Mhm.
do in iOS?
Yeah, I think honestly it was the design language. I think the aesthetic, just the glass and just the way that they kind of have everything set up would be a lot harder to do in iOS. It's
Okay.
very, very easy and simple to make a gorgeous Vision OS app, to where it might take a lot more work and a lot more knowledge and experience to do so in iOS.
How was like interacting with your app different with like the gestures and the eye focus stuff. Like, was that a challenge? Because I'd always be worried about like if I'm doing it right on Vision OS, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. The cool thing again is everything is pretty much built in. Apple makes it extremely simple with Swift UI to where I didn't really have to worry about coding anything to make the eye tracking work. It just kind of does, kind of out of the box. They have their components. You have your text fields, your text views. All of your views are automatically adapted for the platform when you build for it. So that made it super easy to make the switch over from iOS.
Are there like different ways of arranging your windows or setting up your windows in your app when it
Yeah,
comes to Vision
yeah.
OS?
Yeah, so I really only did single. I've only done one app that has multiple windows,
Okay.
but it was pretty much free flowing and up to the user. So you can push like a new window and they can move it to wherever they want to move it. I'm not
Okay.
personally sure. I don't have experience to know if you can kind of set up windows in different ways or in different
Right.
layouts in that way.
Right. Yeah. Um, what other, like, I guess, do you have any stories or anecdotes about some aha moments you had developing for the Vision Pro?
Let's see, aha moments. Well, I think one of the big ones was, as I spoke before, just how easy it is to make an absolutely gorgeous application. As somebody who is still developing in the simulator, I don't own a Vision Pro. It was really, really cool to see what in code and in practice was just a pretty simple app turned out to be absolutely gorgeous. So I made an app. Most recent app I released is called Vinyl Vision. It's a Discogs native client for Vision OS so
Okay.
that you can view your Discogs collection. And just seeing that and how beautiful it was, how great album
Yeah.
art looked, even just in the simulator, was definitely like wow to me.
So now that you've been developing for the Vision Pro, have you noticed anything that you're like, oh my gosh, this is better suited for the Vision Pro rather than the iPhone when it comes to developing new apps, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. So in my most recent app that I released, Vinyl Vision, I have some really cool ideas. Like I would really love for users to be able to set up a 3D record player, pull your records from your digital collection
Nice.
and actually place them on your 3D record player, things like that that aren't possible on the iPhone. It really opens up a whole new world of user interactions with your apps. I think it's really cool.
Was there anything from DubDub that you were like blown away by and you're now interested in building Vision OS? Let's start with Vision OS. In Vision OS 2, for instance.
Well, most of what I was blown away by in Vision OS 2 isn't necessarily like developer tools,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more so like ways that us as users can interact with it or us as developers can use it, like the ultra wide monitor space. I thought
Okay.
that was the coolest thing that came out of Vision OS for sure. I'm really hoping to be able to get more like camera access. I saw a really cool Vision OS WWDC video on a drawing app. So
Okay.
they were like drawing in 3D.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought that was really awesome. So being able to do stuff like that is something I'm hoping to learn as I dive more into AR Kit and Reality Kit right now.
What are you finding is like the biggest challenge with AR Kit and Reality Kit?
Math. As somebody who, as somebody who isn't really, trained as a developer, self-taught. I come from a completely, different background. So, trying to learn how to code and how to program and all of that on top of now having to learn, like linear algebra, 3D space, calculus, how things move, physics, stuff like that is probably the biggest challenge. But I'm excited. It's been really cool. It's definitely what blew me away about the Vision Pro. So I'm willing to learn it and I'm excited.
What are like, you're making it sound like it's easy to develop for the Vision Pro. And you're like, not easy, but like, if you already know iOS, going to Vision Pro isn't that much harder. I mean, there's got to be some stuff with the 3D interface that you need to know about Vision Pro, or maybe things that you can do in Vision Pro that you can't do in iOS that makes it slightly more challenging, right? Like, I mean, it sounds like they make it easy to design an easy app, I guess. But like, what if you wanted to do
Mhm.
stuff like 3D model record player? There's got to be some more advanced stuff that you have to do in Swift UI, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have too much experience with it
Okay, okay,
myself to be able to speak on it,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
But yeah, like it was easy for me to develop easy apps because that's what I was doing. I was doing very simple
right,
single screen windowed applications, which is incredibly simple to do coming from, any type of Swift UI experience.
right. And then you said, did you say you had built an app with multiple windows?
Yeah, yeah. So in Vinyl Vision, you can kind of tap on a record. It'll bring up the track list. It'll bring up record notes. It'll bring up the photos. You can tap on a photo. It'll bring up another window with a really large, like human size, life size
Mhm.
photo. So in that sense, it links to other windows.
Okay. Is that just like a flag you can then set next code,
Mhm.
or okay, okay, cool. Because I know you could do that with like iPads, so I assume it's basically the same
Yes.
idea. What?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same API.
Okay. What? Yeah. Was there anything else that came out from DubDub that was of interest to you?
Yeah, a lot of the Apple Intelligence stuff looks incredible to me, especially, the way that we're going to be able to use AI and Xcode now. I think that's going to enable a whole new, generation of developers to make Swift, which is already a fairly approachable language,
Yeah.
even more approachable for more people, which is something I'm incredibly excited about. Even as somebody who's still learning, like that's going to be game changing for me.
Hmm, hmm.
Um, yeah, for sure.
Have you looked at Xcode 16 at all?
A little bit. I downloaded the beta because I'm trying to do. Like I said, I'm working through a AR kit, reality kit demo,
Okay.
and part of like the WWDC videos I was watching, some of the APIs are only for the 16
Right.
beta,
Right.
so I did
Right.
have to download them.
Right. Because I noticed. So I've started doing a lot of work in 16 beta, and I
You're good.
do. So they do have the language model stuff for Swift already there, and it's interesting. It's a
Okay.
little bit, I would say it's better than what they had before, but not quite what you'd get from like was it Copilot,
Right. Right.
where it's like a little bit more limited to like provide and what Apple provides, which is good because privacy is kind of an important
Right.
thing. So that's interesting to me. Yeah, I kind of hope that like it gets better and that we get to see more of what Apple wants us to do with these code bases, because I assume that's kind of the idea, right? Is like we trained the model on Apple code and tutorials so that for like me the user is going to know, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do with this view modifier or whatever. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yes. Same.
Right. Have you just just getting into it, did you ever try using stuff like ChatGPT or any of the AI stuff for your development workflow?
Absolutely. Like I said, I just started learning a year ago. It's been a massive help to me, especially in the very beginning, because my first app I ever built was like a closed social network for my staff at work.
Okay.
And doing that, after I started on that project a month into learning, and there is absolutely no way that I would have gotten that done without the help from both the community and resources and tools like ChatGPT.
So where do you see that fitting into your development workflow and your like educational experience amongst the other tools that you have?
Yeah, I still use it to this day. Like if I have a API I'm working with, I'll just throw in a sample response and say, "Hey, I need a model for this,"
Yeah.
and that
Okay.
saves me so much time
Yeah.
when
Yeah. Yeah.
typing out an entire, data model. It's things like that. Just kind of boilerplate things that are simple, that are also time consuming. It really helps with stuff like that.
And if it's something that can be a pattern, like you said, you
Right.
show, you said, here's the response, give me a model. Like, yeah, that's perfect
Hmm.
stuff for a language model. So yeah, where I found it is I don't know if you've seen this with Vision Pro or Reality Kit or AR Kit, where I see it run out is like when you have a very specific API that you need help with. Um,
All right.
I don't know about you, but like I've been working with some stuff with networking and like it just it hallucinates all the time. And it's like, yeah,
Yes.
this looks like Apple code. This looks like the way you would do it on an Apple API, but it's not how it works and it doesn't really fix my problem. Do you get stuff like that?
Right. Absolutely. That's why I kind of stopped using it for those things. I'll
Okay.
go to people in the community who've worked with it before,
Right, right.
and I get much better results that way.
Okay, okay.
But for simple things, like we said, it's much easier to trust and rely on it for.
Yeah, here's a CSV file. Turn it into JSON. Like
Right.
stuff like that, it's like
Exactly.
perfect. Um, what were some developer videos you watched this year that you're like, this is something I want to try out?
Yeah, so I watched some of Swift testing.
Okay.
I've been learning, more about testing and just writing testable code. So Swift testing looks like a really cool step up from, what we had before, the
Yes. Yeah,
XCT.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's something I'm really excited to get into. I haven't watched, too many of the WWDC videos yet,
Okay.
mostly just the like Xcode, the Swift Assist stuff, and then Swift testing. But I've been trying to watch more of the Vision OS stuff. One thing that I do notice is like I'm used to, watching a tutorial, and the tutorial will walk you through how to build the project. But Apple's WWDC videos are not that at
No, no,
all.
no.
So it's been interesting to they do a really good job of introducing you to what's new and what they're doing, but they're not necessarily going through like, here's how you build this project.
Yeah.
So
They sometimes have
yeah,
like the
it's a
sample
lot of learning.
projects that they update every
Hmm.
so often, but like, yeah. I've this the thing that I've struggled with is, and I don't know at the time of the release of this episode, it'll still be true, but like, just APIs that I'm looking forward to aren't quite ready yet. And like, it's like, okay, well, I can't really do anything with this because it's not even, we're at beta 2 here and I still can't do it. So that's like been the
Yeah.
biggest struggle for me. And then of course all the stuff with, well, Swift concurrency for sure with Swift 6.
Yes.
That's been a big thing. Um, that like I feel like I've been working on it for a year and I'm still working on it even after dub. So it's like, yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around that. What?
Yeah. I have to begin,
I
but yes.
have to be, yeah, take your time. Take your time. Trust me. Um, I wanted to hop back a little bit. So did you get into software development? Was it like the Apple stuff that got you started on it, or was there some other stuff you had done before?
Yeah, I started there's a University of Helsinki course.
Okay.
It's called I think it's massive online open course. It's free, it's online,
Okay.
and it kind of walks you through Java. I was reading a lot of feedback. I did a lot of research and wanting to get into software development, and Java seemed to be a really popular and good language to start out with. So I was just doing like console projects in
Okay.
Java until I saw WWDC last year and immediately switched over to Swift and haven't looked back since.
Do you miss Java?
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all.
I
Not
have
at
done
all.
very little Java and I'm not a big fan of Java. Like I am not I think there's a lot of great programming languages out there. Java's not on my list of great programming languages. It's just yeah, I've that's funny that you started with that. I could see how that would be a good job. That would be a good resume builder. But I'm
Right.
not sure
That's
I'd
what
want
the
to
purpose
work at that
was.
company. Um, so yeah, but um, what was the thing that you were like, oh my gosh, Swift is so much better than this Java stuff?
Oh my goodness. It's like plain English, you know? Like it was so fun to work with and learn because I didn't feel like I was like typing gibberish. It was very readable, it was very approachable,
Yeah,
and things just kind of made sense, especially with Swift UI. I mean, like if I want text on the page, I write text and I put the text,
yeah,
it's just simple. Um, I love Swift. Love it.
Maybe now that's like a good segue to talk about the other thing you're working on. Should we do it?
Hmm.
All
Sure.
right. So you're now picking up your third programming language now. Is this
I
correct?
guess. Yeah. Yeah.
People may have heard of it. It's called Objective C. Um, Danielle, why?
Well, so I got an internship with Disney for the summer, so I'm working with them. And it was actually supposed to be a back end internship. So I was supposed to be working with Java, PHP, Go, stuff like that.
Okay.
But the team I'm working with got assigned an iOS project. And so I was super excited. I'm the only iOS developer on the team. You know, I wasn't expecting to be doing iOS, so it was a blessing. I was super excited and ecstatic about it. But I found out very shortly after that the project is written entirely in Objective-C and UIKit, which are two things I've avoided this entire past year of learning.
Here you are
But
doing
now I
Vision
can't
Pro
anymore.
and Swift with
Right.
concurrency, and they're like, here, we got a iPhone SE model, first model with a home button, and we need it working in Objective C. Yeah, great.
Yeah. It's been fun though, because so Paul Hudson, again, I mentioned his name a lot so far, but incredible educator. He has a book called Objective C for Swift developers.
Nice.
So in that book, I'm using that to just kind of learn Objective C, learn a lot of the syntax changes and stuff like
Okay.
that to help me do my job. But the book is great because it teaches you a lot of the history of where things in Swift came from.
Okay.
Like it kind of helps, you know, put two and two together.
Yeah.
So things like how integers worked and how, you know, the past of integers, so, you know, 32 versus 62-bit architecture and how that changed what we could do with integers, like all this really fun, like factual history of the language that I'm learning. So it's actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. It's really not as bad. So I'm actually enjoying it so far. I would never like do it over Swift. Absolutely never, but it's not the nightmare that I expected it to be.
So you don't have to answer all these questions, but I'm going to ask anyways. Which app is this, if you mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm
Okay,
allowed
and that's
to
fine.
speak about. Yeah,
I didn't think so.
yeah,
I figured I'd ask.
yeah.
Yeah, because I can't. You don't have to answer this. You can
Hmm.
do poker face here, but yeah, I would imagine it's
Hmm.
probably not the streaming app because that's been around long. I mean, unless it's built on other older stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure Disney has. People don't know that how much Disney is into tech, but they are into tech quite a bit. Like even when Walt
Absolutely.
ran the company, they were into tech, doing all sorts of stuff with animation that was pretty cutting edge. So yeah, I'm not
Yes.
surprised. Yeah, so I'm gonna plug my own stuff. I did an episode with Graham
Hmm.
Lee about Objective C, and just the history of that. And that was really he really knew his stuff. And like the part about how like computer industry of the 90s, for instance, is much more concerned with being able to rewrite code as it's running. And that's kind of what the power of Objective C was back then. And like Swift now in the 2020s, right? We're all into like statically typed, break at compile time, don't break at runtime. And so like, it's like, okay, now I understand. And this is why I think a lot of Objective C developers don't like Swift because it's so strict. It's like, no, it has to be this type, it has to be
Yes.
this. Because we want things to break at compile time. We don't want them to break at runtime. Whereas like in Objective C, it was like, oh, who cares? Like if it's nil, you just check if it's nil, and that's how you do it at runtime. So it makes total like it's interesting the different perspective. Like you can love or hate both languages or hate both languages, but they're different for different reasons for different times of the
All right.
industry, and so that's super helpful. Are you doing? Um, you said the app is all in Objective. Like, is it like? Are they like it has to stay in Objective C? Keep writing in an Objective C. Don't change anything, or like,
Yeah.
or
It's
is
an internship, so
yeah,
yeah, I'm only there for a short amount of time. So it's an internal app. Like it's not anything guest facing. So it's really not a huge priority I'm the only developer working on it in
yeah,
this gigantic company. So um, Yeah, I don't have any, plans right now to,
But
switch it over to Swift.
yeah, I mean, are you ever like, oh man, this would just be easier in Swift? Can we write like a bridging header and then do it that way? Like, do you have that ability, or are you just like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep it in Objective C and not try to like rock the boat here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. And I would have that ability, but I'm really using this as a learning opportunity, to learn Objective C. Like, I was not going to do this on
Yeah,
my own,
totally
I
fair.
promise. So I want to learn and get as much exposure to Objective C while I have this opportunity as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just going with it.
So the other thing I was gonna say is I did a whole video on migrating your code base from Objective C to
Okay.
Swift. And yeah, like I did that video 2 years ago, and now with like the async await stuff and concurrency, ugh, I got to do a sequel to it because like I don't even know how you'd get around that, like with GCD and async await. Like that's got to be a nightmare. So I haven't gotten into that yet, so I can't speak to it. But what do you like about Objective C? Let's start with that. That you over Swift.
Well, like you said, it's a lot less strict, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. But it's a lot more free flowing and like easygoing in a sense. It's
Yeah,
not throwing errors at me
yeah,
as often. So that's cool. But then again, like there's a reason that Swift is so strict. It's trying to keep you from breaking things,
right,
right? So um, it's a give and a take. But I do kind of enjoy that it just kind of lets me do whatever.
right.
I figure out if it's broken when I run the app.
Is there anything about UI kit that you're like, oh my gosh, this is so well? I should ask. Okay, it's UI kit. What are they using for the UI? Is it all coded or storyboards or what?
So the UI kit stuff, I'm still very confused on. UI kit is like Objective C isn't the nightmare, it's UI kit. That's the nightmare for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I mean, I'm assuming it's storyboard. Like they have storyboards, they have,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both because there's like 9 repos in the project and they kind of all do have something different going on. So, I've noticed like the storyboard files in some of the repos and, coded UI in others, but I'm just trying to make my way through it and figure it all out right now.
What version of Xcode are you using for this? Is it still 15?
I'm using 15,
Okay,
so
good.
yeah,
It's not like I was
yeah.
just scared that it was like one of these apps where it's like, oh, it works, but you have to run it in Xcode 10 because it's so old. Okay, good. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Um,
when I opened it up, it like gave me the option to migrate everything that need to be migrated so that I could use it in the newer version of
okay,
Xcode. So
good.
I just like hit yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, Anything else you want to talk about before we close out? Like anything you've learned along the way that you wish you knew, or any resource you wish that was out there to help someone like you?
I want to encourage as many people as possible to learn in public. That has been the single best decision that I've made in on this journey so far. Like I wouldn't be here on this podcast. I wouldn't have this internship. I wouldn't know most of the people that I know who have been helping me out so much. I've had people from the community like hop on calls with me at 11:30 p.m. at night, helping me debug code that I'm stressed out about. Like I would not be where I am today if not for the community that I've built by just learning and building in public. So if I could give anybody any piece of advice, it'd be to make sure that you're putting yourself out there, you're learning in public, and you're creating community.
Yeah, I agree completely. Speaking of learning in public, if you want to watch me miserably fail at something every Tuesday morning, EST 9 a.m., I live stream my pathetic attempts at whatever I'm working on. So I got to plug that
That's
while I'm
awesome.
here. Have you tried
Yeah.
doing any live streaming or anything like that?
No, I'm a very like nervous, like,
Yeah.
not the most social person, so I'm still in the process of getting more comfortable with, even like I made a YouTube channel. That was a big step for me. Blogging, another big step for me. So I'm trying to ease my way into more things. So maybe, soon I can muster up the courage to live stream.
Well, if you do, I'll plug it. So let me know.
Oh, awesome.
That sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. Danielle, thank you so much for making the time to come on. This was fantastic to hear your story.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at dlewisdev. My website is daniellelewis.dev. You can find me all of my projects there, my portfolio. Those two places. YouTube at dlewisdev as well.
Awesome. Thank you again. It's been fantastic, and hopefully we'll have you on again sometime soon. People can find me.
Thanks, Leo.
Yeah, you're welcome. People can find me on Twitter at LeoGDion. My company is Bright Digit. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on a podcast player, please give me a review. Let me know if there's something you want me to have on, a certain topic, certain guest. Maybe you have a talk you're going to be putting together and you want to fail on my podcast rather than at a conference. Come on the show. Thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you at the next episode. Bye, everybody. Danielle, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you.